Well, the deposition from Blake Lively has been redacted. Is it proof that she has no proof? We got Ron Zambrono here to break it down. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore. Welcome back, Ron. So glad you could make a few more minutes. So happy to always have you here. And I want to go through this because we just did a video going through what some are out there calling the game over document, which you just said is not game over. But on that same theory, some of the deposition has now finally come out. They put the whole thing out, which we both said was not a good move. They only clearly needed to put out this portion of it. And they did get reprimanded. The thing has been stricken. We'll talk about that. But we've now seen the unredacted moment in question. And I want to go through this with you to get your thoughts. They are asking Blake Lively, when did the smear campaign end? Objection. Blake Lively, it doesn't feel like it's ended. It's still ongoing? Blake Lively, it feels that way, yes. Who do you believe is involved in the ongoing smear? Attorney objects, blah, blah, blah. You can answer if you can answer the question without revealing attorney-client privilege. Blake responds, I believe, outside of what I know through attorneys, I believe that the defendants are involved. Which ones? Blake, all of them. And I believe you are, referring to Brian Friedman, who was doing the questions. And what is the basis for your belief that all the defendants and myself are involved in an ongoing smear campaign? More objections, blah, blah, blah. Blake Lively responds, outside of what I know through my attorneys, I believe the act of retaliatory lawsuit and the press that you have done and the statements that you have made about me and my character have felt incredibly retaliatory. And then they ask, what about the defendants? What did they do? That's part of the ongoing smear. Blake Lively responds, like I said, outside of the conversations with my attorney, I'm unable to answer that. So Ron, is this a death nail for Blake? Does this do what Brian said it was doing, which was proof she has no proof? Why are we even here? What is your reaction to this small piece of her deposition?
So for this, and I'm going to be accused of being, anti-Lively, but again, if you just read it, and he's being very direct, and he pushed her into a corner, the examining attorney. He pushed her into a corner. Listen, I know you have this conclusion of that people are engaged in the smear campaign. I understand that is what you feel and you hold, and I'm receiving this information, Blake. But I want to know, what are the events? What is it that I've done because you accuse me? What is it, not me, but the attorney that's asking questions, or Baldoni? What is it that they've done? Can you tell me, that they made a call, they sent an email, something? And she says at the end, other than what my attorneys have told me, I have no idea how to answer. And that is not good, because that really means is I have no factual basis outside of what my attorneys have told me for this claim that people have engaged in a smear campaign. And that is a mistake on either her attorney's fault for not prepping her, because the answer might be there and she just, had a brain fart, or that they allowed her to go into that depot with that claim there, knowing that they're going to push her on that point. So what does this mean legally for the lawsuit? Well, it means that there is no basis for that claim because she cannot answer it. She cannot answer it from her own independent knowledge, but it's her lawsuit. The lawyers aren't suing, she's suing. So this is actually quite, I think, a very good argument from Baldoni's side.
Well, and to be clear, this isn't arguing that there's no smear campaign. It's arguing about the ongoing smear campaign, which is a big bone of contention because folks like me who got the subpoena, they want my data through now, not during the August through December in question that was, in her original lawsuit. Now it's continuing till God knows when. This doesn't factor into the actual legal smear campaign. This is just, can this set a sort of time period to end? Can this help the judge say, look, agreed, the smear campaign is this to this? Like, when will that decision be made? Will that go through trial?
Well, it's difficult to see based on, again, everything is based, every legal decision that's made by the judge has to be based on facts that are presented to the judge, right? So these are facts presented to the judge, this is evidence presented to the judge. What's unclear with this is that we don't know if they started making, we don't know earlier in the transcript whether they had Blake put a initial bookend. When did it begin? Right. Okay. And when did it feel? So maybe this implies that that's how it starts. Right. But they asked this question. That's how this transcript that we could read starts is well, okay, we know you gave us a date where it started. Like, when did it end? She's like, well, it feels like it's ongoing. So it could be that they need to, later on, they said, okay, well, is it ongoing from what point? You know, is it ongoing from your lawsuit? Is it ongoing? So there is a chance that they go to the judge like, okay, judge, we want to stop the discovery of everybody under the moon because and the fishing expedition that's not what discovery is for. So we want you, judge, now to preemptively say the claim exists, but the temporal proximity is from X date that Blake said in this transcript up until the time that her lawsuit started, because she has no independent facts to show that anything happened afterwards. That could happen, and the judge could do that for purposes of managing the case at the request of the Baldoni attorneys because of what's happening, for instance, with you and other influencers and whoever else, because she wants to keep looking going forward. I think it's a good argument on Baldoni's part.
Now, I want to talk about, there's other, I'm just showing this to you, but we're seeing sort of text exchanges and other exhibits that are coming in, but shout out to Zach Peter, who got a shout out because Jamie Heath and others are sharing like their TikToks. This is afterwards. This is during February of this year. So right after the alleged, the ongoing smear. Crazy, love me some Zach. Also, here's a nice breakdown. This is just proof that they're sharing. This is Leanne's Twitter threads. It's just proof that they're tracking and sharing all the organic stuff and sort of reacting to it like, oh, wow, look. And then he's laughing about the Hollywood Reporter image that got, AI'd into this crazy fun battle sequence. Oh, my God. So does this help? Like, does this kind of stuff, the fact that they've revealed this and shown that, like, yeah, look, we weren't having paying these guys to smear. We were paying attention to it, and it was all this magical sleuthing, as it's called here, calling out Zach and Melanie King. Shout out to them for this. How does this help or hurt the case? Does this? What are your thoughts?
I think it shows that the public was reacting like we all were. I was, or through my wife, I was like, we all were reacting to this crazy story. How it was weird, we can go back to what I said for the documentary. Like, it was all very strange and people reacting to it, and then the cross showing of evidence. Like, we were all reacting to this stuff organically. And I think Baldoni, if he's going to do a good job, or his attorneys rather, would do a good job, they will tell that to the jury. Like, listen, after this story came out with the New York Times, and then we did our cross complaint. Yeah, it doesn't exist, but like, we were all doing that. You guys were doing that, right? It's like, yeah, we were doing that too. It's like, well, is that a smear campaign? Did you participate in our smear campaign? I think that's what they will do if this continues to happen. If the judge, if Baldoni doesn't ask for this, or if Baldoni, which might be what they want, if Baldoni doesn't ask for this, that'll happen. But I think a better strategy would be to, make it a little bit cleaner for Lively's standpoint. Now, Lively's attorneys, if I were them, I'd be like, listen, she messed up in her depo. We need to not go into any jury where they're going to be confused and go like, well, I think you guys are overreaching. We should cut it off to the point of the lawsuit. I think that's what Lively's team should do, because more stuff, more money, better for the defense. That's always is. The more the defense is allowed to like bring up, the more confused the jury is, the more stuff the jury has to like sift through. That's good for Baldoni. So Lively's team, in my opinion, should be like, no, we got to make this leaner. This did not go the way we wanted to. She didn't do well in her depo. Let's make this, short, lean, big, impactful hits versus trying to do everything under the sun. That's my opinion.
Right, and then on Justin's side, they got to stop doing these dumb moves because, as you said, the judge did, thwack right, them. Yes. This was their own public relations purpose, as we both sort of spot. Why would you submit the whole damn thing? Now, yes, Perez Hilton's out there trying to get the full document, saying it's relatory. I want to end on that question, not to shout out him or negatively, but he's put out some stuff in the docket. That's now the judge has deemed, inappropriate, disrespectful, lack of decorum. He's called, literally called the judge biased in his own pro se letters to the judge, calling him sexy, XOXO. The judge had to put a letter out saying, enough, stop it, or you'll be held in contempt. Do you think that stuff's actually going to affect this judge? Do you think this judge is biased? What are your thoughts on sort of how this is turning into your final thoughts?
I don't think the judge is biased. With the two things that we've talked about before, Andy, I thought it was something that was a little bit past the line of what is normal behavior in a courtroom, especially a federal courtroom in Southern District of New York. This is the same district that dealt with the Diddy case. These people, these judges, these staff people, they take their job very seriously. And if they get a sense that anyone's trying to use the system just for public relations purposes, they should, in my opinion, to keep the respect of the court's life to call people out. And, Baldoni's folks better take heed, because I think the judge is like, listen, you're doing more than you need to. I see why you're doing it. Stop doing it. That's not what this is for. And now this is two. So on the third one, I am afraid he might do like monetary sanction. If it happens a fourth time, it might be worse. Something called an issue sanction or an evidentiary sanction. But we saw this coming, Andy, and I don't know why they thought that was okay. But I don't. I'm not in their position yet. Maybe they know something I don't.
But decorum in the court, not using it for PR purposes, those are things Baldoni and Blake should be doing, in your opinion.
No, they should not be doing. They should not be using the court for public relations. They should
no,
not.
Exactly. Don't. That's what. Sorry, that's what I meant. Don't use it for public. Keep the decorum. Be respectful to this judge. Don't call him biased in things. None of that's going to help matters.
It will not help matters at all. Because you need this judge to help you later. If you go into trial or a motion to kick the case out, you don't want the judge to come in, as much as every human being tries to do their job in a neutral way. You don't want the judge to come in with like some subconscious thing because you pissed them off earlier. You don't want to do that.
Right. Well, they're like, but Blake's side's doing it all the time, Ron. They're breaking the rules. They're putting all our data, which they did. A lot of creators' private data came out. It is odd that Blake's side has not seen any punishment. They lied about me, criminal behavior. I mean, I see why some people are passionate about wanting to call out this judge, but you don't think that's going to help?
No, I don't think it's going to help. But that stuff is the party taking a position that is crazy. That is different from the attorney using the process to put something in the public that normally wouldn't be public. That's the difference. That is the line. And I know mostly people like, what's the line is, what's not supposed to be public yet. And you're throwing things intentionally into these letters for purpose, because it's public, and that is not okay. That's different from Baldoni's attorneys calling Lively, everything under the sun, that she's crazy or her husband's crazy, and taking these positions. That is very, very different to have a position that is in these letters versus about the other party, not the judge, versus putting evidence that normally would not come to the light of day until trial, because it's public and it would be reported.
Always well said. Always appreciate it. I know the audience does well. Thank you, Ron Zambrano. West Coast Trial Lawyers. If you ever need a lawyer, there he is. Head him up online. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Always make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for all alerts, smash the like. And please say some good positive comments about Ron down below. We always appreciate his extra time. Stay tuned. We will be live later today. It's Tuesday, I think. Yes. So join us there. We got a lot more coming your way here on Popcorn Planet.